Dear listeners, welcome to the Deep Journal channel. By subscribing to our channel, you can be informed about detailed reports every time. The USA can now easily intercept and shoot down hypersonic missiles of China and Russia. The new military move of the US Army against China shocked the Chinese. It seems that China and Russia, which surprised the US Army by conducting very serious advanced hypersonic missile tests in the past months, can no longer pose a threat to the USA with hypersonic missiles. While the tension between Russia and the USA in Eastern Europe has reached its peak, the South China Sea, which is the most critical region of the last period, and the friction between China and the USA seem to have fallen into silence, but in fact, the two countries are making serious preparations against each other. China has started a big preparation with the last military shipments made by the USA to Taiwan. With the entry of the US Navy into the South China Sea, it immediately produced models of the US Navy ships and tried attack techniques on these models. According to the private information received, it is reported that as a result of the operations carried out with great secrecy, China reached the projects of the US planes and prepared attack plans according to the data from these projects. At the same time, China, which has developed itself in hypersonic missiles, has come to the fore to use these high-tech missiles in a possible war against the USA in the South China Sea. These warnings seem to have been taken into account, and he gave a great task to Stratolaunch by making a large defense investment in the USA. Stratolaunch, which will produce missiles with maneuvers similar to the hypersonic missiles used by China, will improve the maneuvering of US aircraft against hypersonic missiles with this investment. Immediately after President Biden's statements after the withdrawal from Afghanistan, the USA turned its course towards China and Russia. While the Pentagon is making many situation assessments against possible war scenarios, it also seems to be taking precautions against emerging conflicts. It can always be dangerous to put forward the US Army, which is the strongest army in the world, especially against China's self-sufficient defense industry. Because there may be many different war technologies that China carries out with very serious secrecy. The statements made by the Stratolaunch company and the attention to the features of the prototypes to be produced will make serious contributions to the Navy and aircraft that these products will be suitable for war scenarios, which will be very effective from the war reactions of the USA. Now let's examine the striking developments in the US military that worry China. US drawing big plan to track, intercept and shoot down Chinese super maneuverable hypersonic missile threats. The U.S. Missile Defense Agency, MDA, has awarded a contract to Stratolaunch Aerospace Company to develop a target that simulates specific hypersonic threats. Current defensive capabilities aren't up to the task when it comes to intercepting and destroying potential hypersonic threats. To solve this issue, the U.S. is aggressively spending on research and development to fill the gap. The new system would enable the Pentagon to test new sensors and interceptors against actual targets. In simple terms, the target developed by Stratolaunch will allow MDA to understand how to engage and intercept potential hypersonic missile threats, especially from America's adversaries, China and Russia. The company, which specializes in high-speed flight test services, has not disclosed the contract amount as yet. Owing to a combination of great speed and maneuverability, hypersonic boost glide vehicles pose a considerable challenge to defenders. Their flight patterns of hypersonic missiles are different from the ones that existing missile defense systems are designed to intercept. Most missile defense systems have been developed to locate, monitor, and intercept conventional ballistic missiles. Stratolaunch intends to augment Pentagon's existing flight test resources through cost-effective, commercially contracted, rapid turnaround hypersonic flight testing. Daniel Millman, Chief Technology Officer of Stratolaunch, said, "We're pleased to provide MDA with a threat representative and threat replicating target that helps them to understand how to engage and intercept hypersonic threats." The company declared publicly last year that it plans to focus on hypersonic testing services instead of space services. Following the death of its founder, Paul Allen in 2018, the company was acquired by Cerberus Capital Management, shifting its focus to high-speed flight testing services. Allen was one of Microsoft's co-founders. In 2019, Gene Floyd, former president of Stratolaunch, said the new vision of the company was breaking barriers. This points to a shift in focus away from satellite launches and toward hypersonic flight testing. These are difficult to carry out over land because of sonic booms, but considerably easier to carry out from an air-launched system over the open ocean. Stratolaunch's press statement does not specify if the target it would supply to MDA is a completely new innovation or one associated with the existing design the business has been focusing on. Earlier this year, the MDA released a video that shows a multi-layered solution to defend against the next generation of hypersonic glide vehicles. Based on the animated video presentation, the agency will integrate space-based and ground-based sensor systems into Aegis combat system-equipped surface vessels to help spot, track, and intercept hypersonic threats. The MDA also showed how two space-based sensor systems detect the launches of hypersonic threats and track them while they are still attached to their boosters. The sensors can reportedly track hypersonic glide vehicles and provide a fire control quality track for other intercept attempts. It's important that we have that hypersonic defense capability now because the hypersonic threat is there now, MDA Director Navy Vice Admiral John Hill said during a congressional hearing in June. What we want to do is move further back into that trajectory, engage earlier, and make the terminal defense even better. Stratolaunch, the owner and operator of the massive Rock, the largest plane ever flown, has received a contract from the U.S. Missile Defense Agency to supply a target that mimics certain hypersonic threats to support the development of new defensive capabilities. Hypersonic weapons present significant challenges for defenders in terms of detecting and tracking incoming threats, as well as attempting to intercept them. Being able to test new sensors and interceptors against real representative targets will be essential going forward. We're excited to provide MDA with a threat representative and threat replicating target that allows them to understand how to engage and intercept hypersonic threats, Dr. Daniel Millman, Chief Technology Officer of Stratolaunch, said in a statement contained in a company press release. The company plans to augment existing Department of Defense flight test resources through affordable, commercially contracted, rapid turnaround hypersonic flight testing for the Department of Defense and its prime contractor partners, that same release added. This MDA contract is exactly the kind of work that Stratolaunch had said publicly back in December 2019 that it would start to seek out. That had represented a change in direction away from the firm's original focus on space launch services, with the Rock serving as a mothership for air-launching various expendable and reusable vehicles to put payloads into space. The shift to high-speed flight testing services had come after the company was sold to Cerberus Capital Management following the death of the company's founder, Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen, in 2018. It's not clear from Stratolaunch's press release whether the target it will provide to MDA will be an entirely new development or one based on an existing design the company has been working on. The firm did announce the completion of a critical design review of its Talon, a hypersonic test vehicle design, in September and said that the goal was to conduct the first flight test of one of those vehicles next year. Separate testing is also ongoing to prepare the Rock, which was developed and built for Stratolaunch by Scaled Composites, a Northrop Grumman company, for its role as the launch platform. Talon A is a resuable, unmanned vehicle with various modular payload spaces to support various flight test activities. It is expected to be able to reach speeds of at least Mach 6, with hypersonic speed being defined as anything above Mach 5. The Talon A, which is 28 feet long and has a wingspan of just over 11 feet, is a powered glider-type vehicle that uses a liquid fuel rocket motor to help propel it to the desired speed after launch. After completing its mission, it is designed to land on a conventional runway using its tricycle landing gear. Stratolaunch is also working on a similar, but larger vehicle called Talon Z, as well as a spaceplane called Black Ice that could be configured to carry cargo, and even possibly passengers. The Talon A design, or a derivative thereof, could be viable for use as a surrogate for hypersonic weapons that use unpowered boost glide vehicles, such as Russia's Avangard or China's DF-17. North Korea also claimed to have tested a weapon of this type earlier this year. The mysterious fractional orbital bombardment system-like weapon that China has been testing recently appears to use some kind of hypersonic glider, as well. These are, of course, only some of the hypersonic weapons currently known to be in development in Russia, China, and other countries around the world, including the United States, reflecting a growing arms race in this regard. This has, in turn, prompted the U.S. military, among others, to initial work on systems to defend against these threats. Hypersonic boost glide vehicles present particular obstacles for defenders due to their combination of high speed and maneuverability while traveling along an atmospheric flight trajectory. This is a general flight pattern that is dramatically different from the ones that most missile defense systems, which have been focused for years primarily on detecting, tracking, and intercepting more conventional ballistic missiles, are optimized to protect against. In response, the U.S. military has been looking to expand and improve its missile defense sensor networks. This includes plans for new space-based systems, as well as terrestrial ones. Just this week, the Pentagon announced that the construction of its first new long-range discrimination radar, LRDR, array, at Clear Space Force Station in Alaska, had been completed. Another LRDR array is eventually set to be built in Hawaii. LRDR has the ability to search, track and discriminate multiple, small objects in space, including all classes of ballistic missiles, according to the Pentagon. Future iterations of the radar's software will allow it to also track hypersonic missiles. There is separate work being done on the development of new interceptors to actually try to shoot down incoming hypersonic weapons. MDA, together with the U.S. Navy, has previously announced plans to test a missile defense-specific version of the highly capable SM-6 missile against a surrogate for an advanced maneuvering threat, a term that has been used to refer to hypersonic boost glide vehicles. In November, MDA had announced that it had hired Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and Northrop Grumman to provide competing designs for an all-new glide phase interceptor, GPI. The goal of the GPI program is to acquire an interceptor capable of knocking down a hypersonic boost glide vehicle in the mid-course portion of its flight. Any new sensors or interceptors will need to be tested against representative threats, and the U.S. military's need to expand testing capacity to support its growing work on hypersonic defense, as well as actual hypersonic weapons, has been increasingly clear. MDA has leveraged previous U.S. military hypersonic weapon tests as one way to help gather relevant data for hypersonic defense work. However, having its own surrogate targets to test against, which could be built to be more representative of potential threats, would be a valuable addition to MDA's overall testing architecture. If the vehicle that Stratolaunch will now provide is designed to be reusable, it could introduce new economies to future testing regimens. Stratolaunch's goal is for the Rock, which only flew for the second time ever in April, to be eventually able to carry up to 3 Talon-sized vehicles at once. This unique capability enables multiple hypersonic flight opportunities on a single day or the near-simultaneous launch of 3 Talon vehicles, which may support specific operational scenarios, according to the company's website. This might point, potentially, to Rock's future ability to support testing representing multiple incoming hypersonic threats at once depending on the size of the target design.